I'm Ray Benjamin, and this is the In the Cut podcast, where professional writers go to break down their favorite episodes of TV. Today, we're going to check into the hotel at Schitt's Creek.
We in the cut.
Schitt's Creek follows the very bougie Rose family after they lose their fortune and relocate to a Canadian town they once bought as a joke. In its 6-season run, the series received 19 Emmy nominations and 9 wins. Today, we're breaking down the 6th episode of Season 4, titled Open Mic. David and Patrick throw an open mic to bring more customers to their new shop. Moira tries to keep the gender of the Schitt family baby a secret, while Alexis works with Johnny and Stevie to rebrand the motel. This podcast is brought to you by In the Cut. We connect aspiring writers to diverse professionals through events and classes. To learn more, visit inthecutla.org. And here to help me paddle up Schitt's Creek is the wonderful Joya McCrory. Thanks for joining.
Of course.
So Joya is a comedy writer from Detroit. You love to tell heartfelt stories full of humor. You're in the Warner Brothers TV workshop, and which led to you getting staffed on ABBOTT Elementary since season 1. You're currently a producer on season 5, and I met Joya years ago. We were in a writers group I think that was in pandemic times.
Yeah.
So I'm just very proud, and every time I see your name in the credits on ABBOTT, I'm like, wow, started from the bottom.
That is a good description.
So before we get into this episode of Schitt's Creek, we're going to play a little game called Fade In, Fade Out. Basically, I'm just going to make some rapid fire statements that are on theme with this episode of Schitt's Creek. If you're here for it, you'll flip the sign and say fade in. Not here for it, flip it, say fade out. You ready?
All right.
Okay. So fade in, fade out, a crazy gender reveal. Yeah, fade out.
Yeah, abolish gender reveals.
I agree. People are lighting forests on fire. It's not good. Okay, fade in, fade out. Performing at an open mic night. Yeah, I agree. Fade out.
I'm no fun, but yeah, keep it at home.
No, maybe I'd watch. I'd heckle from the crowd, but yeah. I'm not in for that. Fade in, fade out. Singing your boo a love song.
Fade in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wouldn't do it, but
you'd want it to be done to you. Yeah. No, my boo can't sing, and neither can I. So it'd not be good. Last one. Fade in, fade out. Living with your parents as an adult.
Ooh.
I say fade in because that's what I did.
Well, heck, you gotta do what you gotta do. So yeah, if you have to do that, fade in.
You know, the economy's rough out here. So why did you choose this episode of Schitt's Creek to talk about?
Well, Schitt's Creek during 2020, that was my comfort watch, and I studied it extensively because I spec'd it to get into the Warner Brothers Writers Workshop, and I actually have access to the entire season of scripts.
Oh, really?
So going back, I'm like, which one did I really love? And it had that heartfelt moment in the end, and so I'm like, let me pick one from a Emmy-nominated season that really resonated with me, and I picked that one.
That is. It's a beautiful show. So Schitt's Creek really follows, I would say, a traditional 3-act comedy structure. Speaking of,
Two acts.
Oh, well, yeah, you're right. 2 acts, which is very rare. Mm-hmm. So it's a great show to study if you're trying to become a student of comedy. And it also integrates sort of their A, B, and C stories. As I was watching, I'm like, they all really have the equal amount of screen time, which is pretty rare to see as well.
I forgot that it was 2 acts until I went back yesterday and looked at it and watched it. I looked at the script first, and I'm like, wow, because they're cold open and their tag contain plot, which is unusual. And I think I'm just based on ABBOTT, the way we do it. I'm like, this is so different.
It is.
And the A, B, and C story equal amounts of time. I'm like, how? And then you watch it and it seems so simple. Mm-hmm. I'm like, they really seamlessly put that together.
They really did. And I think it shows that structure can be nimble. It doesn't have to always be the same thing, but I do think as a viewer, it is more satisfying, whatever structure you choose to stick to it.
Yeah.
So, as someone who writes for a show like Abbott, Schitt's Creek is also an ensemble show. How do you really balance these different A, B, and C stories when you have so many characters?
That is, it's a tough one. I think we keep a board of what characters are in the A, B, and C so we can make sure we distribute the amount of screen time people have. But usually we kind of go in knowing who the A is and who we haven't seen paired together lately, or who would be interesting to be paired together. And it's kind of like rolling dice sometimes. I mean, you just kind of see what we come up with, but it's tough because we could come up with a really good idea and like, oh man, we forgot about Mr. Johnson. And you have to kind of throw him in there. But that was one of the hardest things when I was trying to spec. I'm like, what can I figure out all these characters? What can they all do in this episode? But luckily we have 13 writers, so we are able to piece it together. But on your own, it is a tough thing to do.
It is. Ensemble shows in general, hard to do. So on this show, we start with the cold open, and Roland sort of enters. He wants to hide his baby's sonogram because they want to keep the gender a secret. There are just so many jokes and just this few minutes. One of my favorites is when he's like, we want to keep it a surprise. I say, your wife's pregnant in her 40s. That's enough surprise. Like, it's just, the pace is so fast. Moira enters, she sees the sonogram on her desk. My favorite line, she says, why is there a picture of a ghost here? And she's sort of burdened to keep this secret that she doesn't want to keep. And we set up that story. Then we move in after that cold open. We're sort of setting up the other stories. David and Patrick need customers to go in their store. It's empty. Patrick's like, let's have an open mic. Dave, not so into it. He's averse to the cringe. Alexis has her marketing assignment to rebrand the hotel, and Stevie and Johnny are also not into it, but they are forced to comply, basically. So just in a few minutes, again, we have all these jokes, and they're sort of unpredictable, very random. Even Roland's ancestor, being a witch, how he says that's why we have to hide the gender, because his ancestor, was persecuted as a witch for finding this out. So many twists. Like, as a writer, what is your process for sort of punching up jokes to avoid have an unexpected joke land?
The first draft, it's really just stating what it is. It's really not even that many jokes. And then it's really just repetition, just going through the script. And then, hey, I think that's a little funny. And then it gets a little funnier. Probably like when I'm writing my Abbott scripts, we get 5 days to write them. So I think on day 5, I've probably reread that thing like 15 times. And each time there's like a new version of the joke that I come up with. But my power isn't in writing jokes, so and I'm always, so the perk of being in a writer's room is like, there are people who are so much funnier than me, so I'm like, I gave my best attempt, but they will come and shine it and make this way funnier. But I get some random jokes in sometimes that, for me, I love a joke that like 2% of the population will get. That does not go well with broadcast TV, but sometimes I sneak some in there.
Yeah, I too like sort of random, absurd type of humor. And yeah, this show, I'd forgotten I hadn't watched Schitt's Creek in so long, and I sort of I watched the first season and I just fell off and stopped watching it. But then I rewatched it because of this episode. I'm like, oh, this show is pretty funny.
It got better after
That's what everyone
1.
tells me. I watched the first season. I was like, I don't get why people like this show. Everyone just keep watching. So because of this podcast, I got to skip ahead a few seasons, and I'm like, wow. Now I get why people like it. But that's also the beauty of the show. I think it is very episodic. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are serialized moments, but it is very episodic. Like, I hadn't watched a show in years, but I knew the premise, and I could just watch a show, an episode from the 4th season, and it didn't mess me up,
Yeah, I didn't pick a pilot, but so I'm probably one of the few people who did not pick pilot.
A lot of people didn't pick pilots.
Well, never mind. Yeah, it's if you ever join a writer's room that's in progress and has been on the air for multiple seasons, sometimes you will just jump in and you just have to how do we keep this story going? And I think on Abbott, we're in our 5th season, so it's like coming up with new stories and ways to get these ensembles to interact. It's a challenge, but it's fun just to see, that's how strong characters you have, where you can keep just churning out the engine of, what they can do every episode.
Yeah, and I think that's really what's missing, I think, from the current landscape. That's why I love Abbott so much, because it is just a sitcom. It reminds me of all the shows that I grew up watching that inspired me to become a writer. And even when you look at all these streaming platforms, the most popular shows are not whatever original stuff. It's people rewatching The Office from 15 years ago. Those are what's doing the numbers. So why do you think, even though that's the case, that we aren't seeing as many episodic comedies on TV? I feel like you want to say, I heard that little laugh. Yeah, you're going to drop some truth.
Yeah, well, I think executives are not making the best creative decisions right now. It's being very driven by numbers and data, and that does not lead to creating shows that resonate with people, or, the people are dumb. That's the simple way. But, I think people crave comedy. I think even in movies and TV shows, and The Naked Gun, if you saw that in theaters, it was just such a relief to just be in a full theater and laugh with people. And I think with TV shows just like that, Schitt's Creek was my comfort show. I think that's the best trophy or reward you can give when people tell me that Abbott, they watch that when they're having a bad day. I'm like, that is my Emmy. I don't have any, but that is my Emmy.
That's beautiful. I love that. So after, that sort of, we set up everyone's plots, we see that all the characters are basically trying to achieve their various goals and failing. So Alexis has her photo shoot with Stevie and Johnny. Johnny's just not looking cute, according to Alexis. Stevie is not with it. David is trying to get Patrick to sort of cancel this open mic, throwing out all these scenarios, but he fails to do that. And Moira is trying to keep the gender reveal a secret. But in a sort of twist, Roland and his wife decide that they want to know the gender, and they keep bothering her, and she's sort of forgotten the gender. So I really love that joke, because it was an unexpected twist. I feel like when you see that sort of setup, you think the whole thing is they're gonna the setup I thought when they set up that joke is that, she's not going to be able to keep it a secret, and she's going to ruin it. So for them to twist it, and it's really the couple, now they want to know, and she's forgotten the secret. And it really was in line with her character so well. She's so self-absorbed. Honestly, she reminds me of Ava a lot from Abbott. So, but she still, at the end of this episode you alluded to, she has some growth. How do you write these sort of very selfish characters that maintain that joke of being funny, but also show that they have growth over time?
I think it's important to know the core values of the characters you create, so therefore you can kind of write crazy jokes and kind of take them in different ways, but as long as Moira is self-absorbed, but deep down she cares for her family, she cares for the town and the people of the town, so she's not really going to go do anything harmful to them. And so you can have her being kind of just forget that this very important, critical piece of information, but of course she forgot. But yeah, I think you just have to know the compass, and then you can't deviate too far if you just know who your characters really are.
Yeah, so it's sort of like a Michael Scott sort of character, like our favorite sort of buffoon, where like he does stuff, but he never takes it too far where you can't sort of walk them back into being a likable person.
Yeah, if you just forget about Scott's tots. But yes.
That is true. Well, he felt bad about it.
He did. But one thing, just don't listen to the audience about what they think they want for characters, because I think for Ava, people were like, oh, you know, she needs to like turn her into Michael Scott. And like, we don't want her to go full on Michael Scott. We also don't want her to be evil. So there's just a balance that you have to know as a writer without seeking unsolicited opinions from people.
They be out there on the internet. I feel like I get that a lot with my show.
Oh, yeah.
It's very rough.
Diehard fans.
It's very rough. So then we sort of get to the climax and resolution for all the character stories. David and Patrick have their open mic, but surprise, Patrick is like low-key very good at singing. I was shocked. I usually don't like a musical interlude in an episode. I'm like, please end it. But I really liked it. I'm like, oh, this is so cute. Okay. He put a twist on a Tina Turner classic. And, you know, his man was very moved. Roland goes to the doctor to learn the baby's gender, and Moira's like, she just doesn't care. Like, oh, good for you. She's too enthralled seeing her son be serenaded, which was a very sweet moment. And the motel rebrands to the Rosebud, sort of addressing Stevie's concerns of the family abandoning her. And it's very cute, even though they spelled her name wrong. And there's this final beat of sort of the sign hanging with the Rosebud name that is both a comedic payoff, but it's also a setup for future plot. It shows character growth for Johnny. Again, that final beat with Moira, even though she's sort of dismissive of Roland and the wife, it's because she's so happy that her son has found love. And how can writers, especially comedic writers, balance these moments, these beats that serve sort of multiple purposes of character growth and a joke, or plot moving forward and a joke? How do you think we can do that?
I think just thinking about your characters as humans, and I think it's fun to like laugh and then have a real moment. I think my favorite moment, I love this episode simply because of that moment where you see it hit David that this guy really does love him and he actually can sing, which is a perk. But and you know, Moira is seeing that her son is in love. So I think just there's some shows that are joke machines, and you know, it's just joke with that doesn't leave any room for true emotions. And I think a show like Schitt's Creek with Abbott, we do give those beats of like, okay, like this is how would I really actually respond to this moment with like without undercutting it with a joke. But it's a fine line because you don't want to get to turn into a dramedy, a proper dramedy. But I won't get in trouble today.
It's okay. I clocked it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just kind of allowing space for your characters to be human.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, the best comedic shows have those moments of emotionality, and the best dramas have, you know, moments of comedy to release the tension. You sort of, for great storytelling, you need that tension and release. It can't be all release or it's all just jokes. I mean, it can be, but sometimes those aren't the shows that resonate with people and are memorable. Like 30 years later, I was talking to a friend about Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and that scene where Will's like, how come he don't want me, man? Like, we remember that scene years later, and that's because, you know, it's a funny show, but the moments of heart give that comedy even more of a boost, I think.
Yeah.
So we don't really need a gender reveal to reveal that this was a great episode of TV. I love puns.
Yeah.
Very funny. So if you have some time, can you stick around for some questions about your career?
For sure.
If you're looking for another great podcast, check out Mama Tusa. Every episode, licensed midwife Atusa Benji sits down with mothers, midwives, doctors, and doulas to talk about the challenges women face receiving healthcare in the U.S. I actually chose to have a midwife and doula for the birth of my son, and I really appreciate how Mama Tusa highlights maternal care. It's something not often discussed. The show always leaves me feeling hopeful and empowered to take control of my health. Check out Mama Tusa wherever you listen to podcasts. Okay, we're back with Joya McCrory from ABBOTT Elementary. So originally you pursued a career in journalism before deciding to write for TV. Do you think that sort of journalistic background prepared you to transition into a different format, or not really?
I probably exaggerated my pursuing journalism a little bit. I was an unpaid intern for this Detroit weekly newspaper, and I kind of just sat around and sorted things.
Hey, that's an important skill.
Yeah, but I think they would like, oh, you could pitch ideas, but none of my ideas were good enough, and I realized it was kind of boring, and I really just, it's not that creative for me, so I realized that, yeah, that wasn't the field for me. It's unfortunate I found that out after graduating from college, but, you know, that's the point of interns.
I feel like we all pivot. Like, I was a political science major. I thought I was going to be a lawyer.
Okay.
And I had an internship at Fox. I wanted to be an entertainment lawyer. I had an internship at Fox doing, like, very boring stuff. My job was to read through all the contracts and help do the order for the billing blocks on movie posters.
But
it was incredibly boring. And it was crazy to see, like, this name cannot be lower than fourth, but no higher than second. Like, these are literally in people's contracts. And I was, like, so bored. I was making up any excuse not to be reading these contracts. So a lot of times I had to go down to the lot to deliver stuff. And that was the only time I was entertained, was I got to be on the lot and I would see, like, I remember I saw Jason Segel one time. And I'm like, oh,
so tall.
He's real tall. I didn't know he was that tall. And I was like, oh, like, this is what I like to do. And my favorite show of all time is Arrested Development. And I had to go... They shot a lot of that at the Fox lot, like a lot of those scenes, especially where Maybe's supposed to be the executive, the studio executive. And I was like actually walking down the hallway. I'm like, oh, this is where Maybe came up with her movie idea. And so that was sort of inspired me, like, hey, maybe I don't like doing this. I think I like actually wanting to create the stuff, not do this contract stuff. And that inspired me. I was still in college, so that inspired me to take a screenwriting elective, and that's what helped me. I still didn't become a writer till many years after that, but that's what...
It takes time.
It does take time. So you'd mentioned earlier that you wrote the spec of Schitt's Creek to get in the WB program. Specifically, it was a Fyre Fest sort of episode,
yes.
Which is hilarious and crazy. But in this current climate, I feel like, you know, we're moving away from specs. A lot of the fellowships don't even require you to write specs anymore. Do you think it's still valuable for new writers to spec a show, or just forget about it?
I was very anti-spec for quite some time. That Schitt's Creek spec is the first spec I ever wrote.
Really?
But after writing it, and I wrote one in the workshop, but I now understand the value because it's good practice, and it's essentially what you will be doing as a writer on staff, because you're not coming there with your own show. You're there to support the showrunner's vision. And so that is what you're doing in a spec. So it's just really good practice. I think any writing is not, you know, anytime you write, you're doing something good. So I know a lot. I think of the fellowships that are left, they like original pilots, which is good to have. But I think it's even harder to write a spec. But that is the best practice.
Yeah, I agree. I actually was watching Mindy Kaling has a master class, and she said that she likes to read spec still. And she's like, I know that everyone wants to read pilots, but exactly for your reasons is that if you are hired as a writer on a show, you're basically speccing the show. That's what your job is. And so to me, I think it's very interesting how we've moved away from that, even though that's what you need to do as a writer. It's very weird.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with someone and they said it made sense. They were like, basically there's too many shows on TV right now. So if there's 600 something shows, you can't write an effective spec because you might be speccing some obscure show that no one's ever heard of. Whereas 20 years ago, like everyone knew what Friends was. Everyone knew the shows you were speccing. So that's why it was easier to spec. But in this climate where there's so many shows, like people might not even be familiar with whatever you're speccing, so it's hard to judge. I'm like, oh, I get that, but I do still feel like even if you're just writing a spec for yourself, if you're not going to use it, I do feel like they're not as useful. But I think it's just a good exercise to do for yourself, even if you don't use it.
Yeah, and I guess just use common sense. Like if you want to spec a show that you know that you're the only person who watches, maybe don't do that. Like there's shows that are popular for a reason. Just throw your hat in.
That is true. So maybe, spec and be creative with it. I think yours, like the Fire Fest idea, that's a very creative, was topical at the time. So if you do something like that, I think you'll stand out more than just a run-of-the-mill sort of spec.
Yeah, I if I weren't a writer on Abbott and I was still trying to break in, I would write. And I keep telling people this. I don't know. People might have done it, but I guess I can't read them actually at this point. But a Euphoria and Abbott crossover.
What?
I would love to read that. Someone write that.
Janine's a teacher at this Euphoria school.
Yeah, it's Euphoria High because no one knows the name of the school.
Yeah, that is true. I'm like, you don't know where they are, what city, what school. It's very amorphous.
Yeah.
I think Barbara would get those kids into shape. I think she would.
I would just. The interactions of, I think, I have ideas, but I don't want to give them away, but someone should.
That is a good idea. Free game.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Abbott, Emmy nominated, highly praised, as it should be. You've got to go to the Emmys, right? Mm-hmm. So, what was sort of the biggest shock from someone just watching TV to actually being there in person? What was something that you surprised you? Like, oh, I didn't expect it would be like this.
Everyone is there. Before I wasn't at producer level, so I don't get to sit on the floor.
Oh, they make like the lower level sit somewhere else?
Yeah.
So where were you sitting?
We were up above few, up in the balcony. But there's after parties, but we go to the governor's ball that's right after, so you can see all the people who have won and who have been nominated. So it's fun just to see everyone. I remember watching, I was by John Oliver at the buffet, and he was holding his Emmy, and just like, he has so many of them, so you could just like holding it, like he's just going to toss it somewhere. But it's very much, every big person in television is in the building, and it's just nice to see. I'm hoping Beyonce will be there this year.
Oh, yeah, because she's nominated.
She's nominated.
I don't think she will.
I don't know. I would love to.
I would be very jealous.
I mean, if I met her, I think it would be embarrassing for me and anyone around me. So I don't actually want it to happen, but it would be great.
My friend met her because this was years ago, she was someone's assistant, and they had a premiere, and Beyonce came to like the movie premiere, and she said, my friend's at the bar trying to get a drink, and she said Beyonce just came up and was like, excuse me, like, she's like, are you waiting for a drink? No. And my friend's like, oh yeah. And she was like, I'll just wait. And she said Beyonce was so kind, just like waited for her drink. This was slander though. This is what she said. She was like, everyone was dancing. She was like, Beyonce, she was a little off beat. And I was like, the beat, I'm like, Beyonce's not off beat. The beat is off Beyonce. Yeah. How can you say that? I was very, very perturbed hearing this.
Interesting. Not Emmy related. I went to the Grammys one year, many years ago, and Beyonce and Taylor Swift were the only people dancing in the crowd. It's such a dead crowd. Everyone's just like a crowd of haters in there. But Beyonce and Taylor were
okay,
you know. Okay.
I don't really care about Taylor, but I like that.
Yeah.
Actually, I did meet her at the VMAs. I used to love to be a VMA seat filler. Being a seat filler, you come up. I was a VMA seat filler, during college or right after college for a few years, and Taylor Swift walked by, and even though I don't care about her, I feel like whenever I see a famous person, you just become a groupie. I'm like, oh, I love you. I was like, oh, Taylor, big fan. I'm not a fan of this woman.
But if you turn around, name all my songs.
She was like, oh, thank you. She was so sweet. I'm like, I like you. I don't need to listen to your songs, but you seem like a cool person. I like you, Taylor Swift. I like her. And her new album, it might be a little spicy. I saw something about a showgirl. She's showing the thighs. I'm like, okay, that little Travis Kelce, he turned her out.
I'll let people tell me how the album is, but you know.
Yeah, like I said, not a fan, but she seems like a cool person.
Yeah.
So, Joya, always a pleasure connecting with you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the show. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Thank you again to our guest, Joya McCrory, and to the writers of this episode of Schitt's Creek, Rebecca Kohler, Dan, and Eugene Levy. Now, last season, we ended it there. But this season, we have 2 more episodes coming your way. We shot them on location at the Young Musicians Foundation in LA. If you love this podcast, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. You can watch the video on YouTube or listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Links to all our socials are in the episode description. Thanks to you for watching, and until next time, stay in the cut.